Hello and welcome back to Shutterdrives. We are here amongst these large boulders in Hampi to review the new generation of Mercedes-Benz GLC. What's important is the car is now longer by 60mm, which has also increased its wheelbase by 15mm, which is a very crucial factor in this segment. But apart from this, what's newer and more importantly, what's missed? Let's find out. Talking about the design elements, there's strong resemblance to the earlier generations of GLC here. You have the loud grille which is on your face and it occupies good amount of real estate in the front portion of the car. You have a camera which is very important. What it does is it projects the feed in front of the car artificially inside. It's called as a transparent bonnet. जो भी bonnet के नीचे है सब वहाँ पे दिखता है, but only until speeds of 8 km per hour, which is going to be helpful in off-road conditions. And then you have the connected LED headlamps, which are again integrated with the grille, and Mercedes-Benz is kind of very fond about it. You have the chrome finished scuff plate in the front, which goes with the overall theme of the car. You of course get front parking sensors, which is expected at this price. But what's important is Mercedes-Benz has equipped this car with 19-inch alloys, and more importantly, the tires get a W speed rating, which means that they have the capacity to withstand speeds up to 270 km per hour. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this car is actually capable of going up to that speed. That said, what's actually nicer is the tires are 55 profile, which means that they'll be able to handle the worst of the worst road conditions slightly better. If there's one thing that's going to be helpful in tackling off-roads better, that is this car has an off-road specific mode which increases the ground clearance by 20mm. So this is a 2-liter turbo petrol engine. You can clearly see the intercooler, which is so big, which is used to suck out the air from the exteriors of the car and which is later used for procession and combustion. This produces 245 bhp and 370 Nm of torque, and the torque can be bumped up by 200 Nm with the help of ISG. The increase in length has made the side profile look longer, obviously, but what's important is there's a 360-degree camera on the ORVMs, which has a very crystal clear live display on the infotainment system right there. Another sporty element is this addition of this chrome strip which runs around the window lens of this car, which gives it a sportier appearance. The GLC is available in 5 exterior color options and 3 interior trims to choose from. You have all the necessary kit at the rear, including a proper spoiler. There's a rear wiper, which is kind of expected, couple of parking sensors, and a very crisp rear view camera. It's not the first time that we have seen fake exhaust in a Mercedes-Benz car, and the same legacy continues in the GLC as well. The GLC 300 badge signifies the petrol avatar of this car. However, you also get a diesel counterpart, the production of which is going to start very shortly. We did not have those test drive vehicles. Talking about the boot space is now 620 liters, which is a good 70 liters up from the earlier generation of GLC, which also means you can probably carry a small bag extra apart from the additional kit that you could carry earlier. What's interesting is the second row of seats can be electronically folded with the tap of a button here. But the addition of one thing makes it very interesting. When you fold the second row of seats, the first row of seats also slide down automatically. In fact, they slide front so that the second row of seats do not brush against the first row of seats, which is a very thoughtful move. So the first thing about the interiors of the new gen GLC is the dashboard is very heighted right now, and it makes you feel that you are sitting thoda sa way too lower in the car. The problem is further elevated because of the fact that the height adjustment of the driver's seat is not very high. You have a massive panoramic sunroof which can be operated just through the touch gesture here, auto dimming ARVMs of course. Engine start stop button placed right there. You get a 12.9-inch infotainment system right there, which is tilted by 6 degrees facing the driver, so that it's easier to see things on the screen when you're driving the car. Thoughtful, super duper steering wheel, feels very good with silver and black finish right there. Paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, couple of stacks which feel great in quality. You have 3-way memory seats, 15 speaker Burmester music system which sounds fabulous. You can open the boot directly from this button here. Twin armrest with loads of storage space inside with 2 Type-C charging ports, and of course there's a wireless charger in this car. Seats also feel very nice. In fact, the front seats are much better than the rear seats, which are very average at best because they are pretty hard, and given the fact that they lack under-thigh support, which we're going to talk about later. So the AC vents are really good. They're not as nice as the A-Class turbine inspired vents, but they're pretty decent, and the vertical lines here are super duper good, and they're clearly lift off from the C-Class. Won't get into the details of the infotainment system. We have seen this in a couple of other cars, but what's interesting is, apart from the fact that you have various driving modes that you can choose from, the sport mode, the individual, the comfort, economy mode and whatnot, you have something called as the off-road mode, which can be directly enabled from the touchscreen here. What happens interestingly in off-road mode is it gives you the complete engine data, okay, how much power is being used, what is the tire pressure of each tire, what is the positioning of the car, and in fact you can see the inclination left, right, by how many degrees. I think there's also a compass here which is going to be very, very helpful. But the central point being, you have a lot of data here which can be very nicely consumed for your off-road driving conditions. And then you have the vehicle settings where you can enable or disable the collision avoidance. You have camera, which is very, very good. You have the vehicular settings, light systems and other information are very easily available by the tap of a button. But there's a breakthrough feature here, which is wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is available for the first time in any Mercedes-Benz SUV, and that's going to be insanely helpful. Another small thing is there's biometric system. You can see that the light flashes to blue color. That is because 7 different profiles can be stored, and I just need to come and tap my fingerprint and everything, the steering, the seat is going to be adjusted according to my taste, which is very interesting, and we have seen in other Mercedes-Benz cars as well. You can access the parking camera directly from here, for which you'll have to turn on the car, which we're going to do right away. Car is turned on, super duper silent. You can see that everything is enabled just here. We have seen this instrument cluster in many Mercedes-Benz cars where you can choose some sport, classic and whatnot, but I'll show you something very interesting here. There is something called as off-road mode. Once you go to the off-road mode, the same inclination and tacho and the compass or whatnot is displayed even in the instrument cluster, which looks so damn fascinating in this car. So the good part about the rear interiors of the GLC is that it's very spacious in terms of legroom, but it lacks 2 things. One is the under-thigh support, which is actually below average, and secondly, more importantly, more predominantly, the seats are very hard, especially this backrest part, which makes you a little uncomfortable in journeys because the ride quality of this car isn't very, very optimistic or something. So these 2 factors couple in and make you a little tired, and this is something that we experienced today. That's it. The legroom is very good. You can see how comfortably I'm sitting here. It's also because of the factor that, you know, the wheelbase of this car is increased by 15 millimeters right now. You have a couple of AC vents here. You can store your phone right there. Couple of Type-C charging ports. I think Mercedes should have also provided, say, a wireless charger or something at the rear. It could have made things wonderful. Another cool part is, in case you want to open the cup holders here, just double press them twice and nice lovely cup holders pop up. This is so damn cool, and this is something that we have seen in other Mercedes-Benz cars as well. That's how brutal the acceleration from the 245 horses and 370 Newton meters from the GLC is, which is paid to a 2-liter motor. Talking about a couple of driving dynamics, first things first, the steering feedback is actually decent. It's not great or something, not something that we're used to the older BMWs, not talking about the newer ones, because even newer BMWs lack the steering feedback which the older BMWs once got. So once you kind of toggle into the sport mode or the individual mode where you're calibrating the steering based on the sport mode feedback, it then improves considerably. But that's it. It's only in the higher speeds like say 100, 120, 130 where the steering feedback actually is very, very rock solid. In speeds below 50 kmph, it's thoda sa lighter, which is kind of what the people want right now. The stopping power is coming from all 4 disc brakes in the car, and the braking is fantastic. The reason being, the earlier GLC did not have rock solid brakes. In fact, one of the downside of the earlier GLC was the brakes, and looks like the brakes have been definitely improved over the first gen GLC. So this is mated to a 9-speed gearbox, and you can see that in the sport mode the revs are higher. The car is shifting the gears at a higher rate compared to the normal comfort mode or the other modes, and that way it gets slightly spirited. Talking about spirited driving, if you want to add more masala and more spice to your driving, you can use the paddle shifters, which are right behind the steering wheel. Of course, they get the manual override, which means that if you do not shift until a certain RPM, the car is going to do by itself. And the AC performance of this car is genuinely good. One surprising thing that we found is once you turn on the AC, it takes about 3 to 4 seconds for the AC to activate, and after that, but the AC is really chilled out. This is the wind on horn of the car. Thumbs up there, not as nice as the Audi e-trons, but does the job very well. Talking about the seat comfort and overall visibility, the front seats are much better than the rear seats. In fact, they offer the right amount of support, the comfort, the underthigh support, the lumbar support, everything. In fact, of course, they're electrically adjustable, no second thought there. But overall, it's a very nice to be in. You can see the bonnet 70 to 80%, and that gives you a lot of confidence when you're trying to drive this car in smaller bylanes. So talking about the generic performance of the engine, the mid-range is very healthy in the power band, and you can clearly see that. And as you push the gas, the car is not going to act with any kind of melodrama. It just has a proper big intercooler right there, which does the job fantastically well. The ride definitely feels firm at the rear, but not so much when you're at the wheel. That stiff ride does help the GLC's handling characteristics though, and it feels a lot more suited to be a driver's car and not exactly a chauffeur driven one. Tiny imperfections make themselves apparent, and large bumps and potholes will require you to slow down. If your passengers are prone to complaining, this is going to be concerning for you. It also makes it very tighter through the twists and turns, and body control always feels fun and never unnerving. You can also alter the ride and engine behavior with various modes available, but the comfort mode is something that is going to work for you 8 out of 10 times without any issues. So in a nutshell, summing up the Mercedes-Benz GLC, firstly, it's good on space, especially the rear seat is much improved right now in this avatar, and the car is completely tech loaded. You have all the features that you would want under the sun in a luxury car. What's also nicer is the car drives very well, especially in the sport mode. Just typical Mercedes-Benz trait there. Of course, banging on the Mercedes reliability is something you cannot miss. But that said, I think Mercedes-Benz should have put some extra effort to ensure that the rear seat is slightly softer, because it's quite hard. That with the harsher ride quality is something that you don't want when you spend big amount. Talking of which, this car isn't going to be cheaper to your dear pockets. That's because we estimate it to touch 90 lakh rupees on road Bangalore. Again, that's just an estimation. That's about it, guys. If you like the video, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram for some real dose.